Hello again, traders, and welcome back to the Hot Stocks Outlook for December 8th, 2023. I hope y'all are having an excellent week out there in the financial markets. As always, we've got plenty to cover in this week's Outlook. So if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and click on that link in the description below, and you can get a live demonstration. Learn all the specifics about how this technology, whether you're trading stocks like we have here in the Hot Stocks Outlook, or futures, currencies, Forex, commodities, whatever markets you're trading, a very high level of accuracy associated with these predictive forecasts. Now, when we look back at the SPY ETF, well, we can see that year to date, we hit that 20% mark. So very exciting stuff. But we've had really sideways price action for the past few weeks, really going back to Thanksgiving. That week leading into Thanksgiving, we've just sort of lulled sideways with a little bit of bias to the upside on the SPY. But this is where individual stock positions, you want to be really careful and be ready to adapt should these market conditions change. So let's go ahead and we can open up the SPY ETF. Again, we'll take a look more deeply at each one of these individual opportunities, but we can see that SPY, since that blue line crossed above the black line, up about 9%. And more recently, with that sideways price action out of the markets, well, we can see those predicted highs and predicted lows working each and every single trading day. You see here over the weekend, we come down to the previous Friday, and then most recently gapping up there, and now again running sideways here, running into a lot of the news coming out here on Friday. But really excellent forecast here via the SPY. But let's go ahead and look at something like Ulta, and we can break apart all of these predictive indicators. So again, what we have is daily price action here. Each one of these candles represents a full and complete trading day. And so it's right up against that price data that what you'll notice is there is a black line value and also a blue line value. Now, the black line that you're seeing on the chart, that's a very traditional technical indicator. That's actually a simple moving average. And in this case, it's a 10-period simple moving average. So what it does is it just takes the last 10 closed prices, adds those all together, and then divides by 10. And so that works as a measure of really letting us know where market prices have been, but it's obviously non-predictive in that all of that data from the previous 10 days has already occurred and is lagging the market. And so what VantagePoint traders are able to do is actually compare that 10-day simple moving average or lagging moving average to this proprietary predicted moving average. And essentially, whenever that blue line crosses above the black line, well, it's suggesting average prices are going to start moving higher. And this is where this technology of artificial neural networks come into play. So traditionally, again, to generate a moving average, we just take that past data, add that all together. Well, what VantagePoint is doing is looking at really dozens of markets that are known to drive and influence the future price of Ulta. Well, this can be things like the SPY. This can be things like other individual stocks, maybe in the consumer cyclical and makeup space. This can be broader ETF markets that kind of group up large groupings of stocks all the way down to things like the dollar index or gold or copper or oil prices. So depending on the individual stock, it's going to have its own unique set of intermarkets that are known to affect and drive future price. And so what we do is we take those intermarket relationships, use those to generate future price predictions. Essentially, the data set for those neural networks taking in that huge amount of data is all the relevant markets that are known to share market relationships. And it's those price predictions that are generated via the technology that are actually used to construct these indicators. So rather than all the values being lagging behind the market and really just readjusting to what's most recently occur, well, now we have a forward-looking predictive tool. So whenever that blue line crosses above the black line, again, you can think of that average prices. Trend traders can really use this to get ahead of the trend and identify reversals and shifts in the marketplace. So here we see Ulta up about 29% in 29 trading days. Not a bad place to be starting through the month of November there. But more importantly, we really hone in on the forecast here. We have very short-term indicators to help the trader navigate this situation. And so you see that this blue or this red and green line at the bottom of the chart, this gets updated every single day, and it's forecasting short-term strength or weakness. So it's not looking at the overall trend like our predicted moving average. It's short-term strength or weakness over the next 48 hours. You can think of that as two candles moving forward for those forecasts. And this has an extremely high level of accuracy associated with its predictive indicators, upwards of 80+% across a wide number of markets, whether again, futures, stocks, commodities, ETFs. And so whenever we see that blue line cross above the black line and that neural index bullish, well, we should expect that momentum to heat up into the market, but markets don't always go straight up. And you see how the neural index gets bearish here. We get a little bit of sideways price action, some lower lows over the subsequent couple of days, But that's what traders need to understand to say, okay, well, the trend is still up. We may get weakness over the next couple of days. But that doesn't invalidate this trade idea. So lastly, we're even given a predicted high and a predicted low. So now we're within the overall trend. We're within 48 hours. We're down to next day's predicted highs and lows. And you see how these levels just are excellent for traders to be aware of. Here in Ulta, we get these nice opportunities early on in the move. We actually had earnings here where we see a lot of this volatility heat up. But this is a market where there's plenty of opportunities to establish position and give yourself plenty of cushion going into those earnings. And we see, again, some really nice moves, actually, where we see those earnings reports. So good example there from Ulta. Let's take a look at Copart here. So really strong stock here, Copart. But look at this forecast. We get the blue line crossing above the black line, neural index bullish. But something has drastically shifted here. So in November, if you want to trade Copart, well, excellent. You've got a blue line above the black line. We've got the neural index bullish. We've got all these guidance from these short-term predicted levels to accumulate a position. But when we start seeing that short-term weakness shift, and of course the VantagePoint predicted moving average shift, well, not only should we not be going long and take profits if there are any long positions, but potentially even short. And we see he came up to this predicted high, and we're seeing that weakness play out in certain stocks. And this is where you need to be really careful, because we may have a shift here in dollar. Dollar starts moving up, it can push stocks lower. And so we may get a real mixed bag as far as which stocks hold up and which stocks really get punished here, potentially on some dollar strength. Now here's NVDA. We talked about this last week. Again, one of these really strong stocks and potentially a warning for some weakness in, again, the broader market where we've seen a lot of strength. This is one of our leaders as far as the broader market here. Here in NVIDIA, you see this crossover to the downside. We talked about this last week as far as, well, go, this week, do you want to be shorting or going long NVIDIA? And we can see here that even this week, well, the easier trade has been short up towards these predicted highs. We start moving lower. Maybe not the best place to short. NVIDIA is a strong stock, but highlighting that, look, this is not in an uptrend. And if we start seeing things shift lower like Copart, NVIDIA, these will certainly be the areas that are primed to suffer. Now, here's shares of Apple. We spoke a little bit about this last week, just as an example of, okay, well, there's other places that don't look like NVIDIA, right? Where that blue line has maintained above the black line and open up some better places to trade. This looking a lot more like that SPY ETF. And again, highlighting all these areas down here at these predicted lows. Sometimes when you come over the weekend here, you'll see this. And as you utilize the technology, you'll get more familiar with identifying these price levels. But here's a Friday, and you see that what happens? You get that illiquidity over Friday through Monday. You run right in through the Friday predicted low, and you were immediately moving higher and continuing that uptrend there. So a little bit more strength there in shares of Apple. Again, a really nice move over the month here. We've had really a lot of different stocks where you can get exposure to this nice move through the broader markets. But you see about a 10% rally here since those predictive forecasts have gotten bullish, and many opportunities to buy, take some profit as the market grinds higher. Now, here's Quest Diagnostics. This was an opportunity that really before November we brought in, because we had this crossover to the bullish side, a lot of momentum in the stock. And I wanted to keep bringing this in week after week to highlight the accuracy of the predicted highs and lows. So as the volatility kicks in here, you see how these predicted lows every single day, right? Coming in each week and just updating, and we can't change these levels after they're set in, but you see here that something started to shift here in Quest Diagnostics, right? Numerous good buying opportunities, but as we see, just like that blue line crossed above the black line here, preceding this, what would be probably about let's see here, let's go ahead and get the profit target out. We got over a 10% move, probably about 11 or 12% at certain points in the trade there. But now we're seeing that crossover to the downside. So again, identifying those markets where previously, yeah, great market to trade, take some money out of that the bullish side here, but maybe go ahead and navigate somewhere else in the market. Maybe just want to trade the SPY directly and be more direct with your exposure if you still want to stay on the bullish side, but something potentially shifting here, again, like NVIDIA 2 weeks ago, highlighting that this is not really the place currently here. Lastly, here we have shares of Salesforce. Again, another good example of just a really bullish market in a broadly, a bullish market. And so we see this blue line crossing above the black line. We can look at those predicted highs and lows. And again, you don't know exactly which day you're going to move down to these predicted lows, but as a trader coming in, each day or throughout the week, you really know where you want to be identifying some good places of value to accumulate a position. So you see here, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entries in the 3 or 4 weeks preceding this big acceleration and move to the upside here. So again, really nice opportunities, but again, a lot of this started in November. So when you can establish those positions, identify where those predicted moving averages are remaining above the actual moving average, well, great. That's an area where you can trade. Here in Ulta, we've got Quest Diagnostics, at the early part here, Salesforce. But where you see that weakness, especially as a shorter term trader trading week to week, we just want to get out of the way, right? This is a pretty serious decline here. If you are especially doing some short-term trading, see about a 5% decline. This, getting as bad as probably 7% or so, about a 7.5% decline as we see the predicted moving averages move below the actual moving average. So we'll go ahead and leave it there. You do want to be a little bit cautious out here. We do have a dollar sort of squirrely and moving around and trying to pick a direction here. So we've seen a lot of big moves out of currencies like the Japanese yen. And this all affects the markets that you're trading, especially the US equity markets. So this is where the VantagePoint software does an excellent job of looking at those relationships, seeing how things are moving, and getting back on track so you have a good tool to keep assessing the scenario and keep executing your strategies as efficiently as possible. So once again, this has been our Hot Stocks Outlook for December 8th, 2023. Thank you all for watching. Best of luck and bye for now.